In the quiet, ordinary town of Hawkins, Indiana, Joyce Byers lived a life that was anything but extraordinary, at least on the surface. She was a single mother, working long hours at the local Melvalds General Store, where her world consisted of pricing canned goods, managing household bills that never seemed to add up, and trying to keep her small, fragile family afloat. Her identity was defined by the quiet, relentless struggle of everyday survival, a story familiar to so many. She was the worried mum, the exhausted worker, the neighbor who might seem a bit high-strung, always seen with a cigarette in hand and a nervous energy that people often mistook for simple eccentricity. Her life was small, contained by the four walls of her modest home and the aisles of the store, and her biggest concerns were making sure her boys, Will and Jonathan, had enough to eat and a roof over their heads. There was no hint of the extraordinary, no foreshadowing of the battles to come, just a woman doing her best with what life had given her. Her spirit worn down by the grind but never completely broken. This was the Joyce everyone knew, or thought they knew, before the world cracked open and the strange darkness of the upside down bled into her living room. The first crack in that ordinary reality came with the disappearance of her youngest son, Will. In that moment of sheer, unadulterated terror, the Joyce who balanced ledgers and stocked shelves began to transform. Police Chief Jim Hopper and the rest of Hawkins wrote Will off as a runaway. A casualty of an unstable home life, but a mother's instinct, a force far deeper than logic, screamed otherwise. This was the first awakening of her true identity. When the phone rang and she heard Will's faint voice through the static, when the lights on her Christmas lights began to flicker and pulse in response to her questions, Joyce did not dismiss it as grief or madness. She embraced it. She took a can of spray paint and turned her entire living room into a sprawling map, a chaotic communication grid where each blazing bulb was a letter from her son in a terrifying elsewhere. This was no longer just a retail worker, this was a relentless investigator. A codebreaker operating on pure love and desperation. She fought against the condescension of the authorities and the creeping doubt of her own mind, armed with nothing but a hammer and a furious determination, literally breaking through the walls of her own home to find a monstrous truth. She was not waiting for a hero, she was becoming one, her identity shedding the skin of passive worry and morphing into that of a proactive, fearless protector. This evolution did not stop with finding Will. As the threats from the upside down escalated, so did Joyce's role. Her identity expanded from protector of her family to defender of her entire town, and eventually, a key warrior in a global interdimensional conflict. She moved from deciphering light bulb messages to understanding the complex rules of psychic gates and alternate dimensions. When Will was possessed by the Mind Flayer, Joyce's battleground shifted from physical walls to the psychological landscape of her son's mind. Her weapon became not a hammer, but knowledge, warmth, and memory, using the safety of childhood to pull her son back from a monstrous entity. She was a scientist of the heart, running a terrifying experiment with heat to drive out a literal demon. Then, with the loss of her beloved Bob Newby, another piece of her ordinary life was violently stripped away, hardening her resolve and cementing her understanding that this war was now her life. She was no longer just reacting to crises, she was strategizing. She learned to operate in the paranoid world of secret government agencies, confronting Dr. Owens and demanding the tools needed to fight back. Her journey took her from the aisles of a general store to the grim Soviet interior of a prison, where she helped orchestrate a breakout to save Hopper. The woman who once worried about utility bills was now handling explosive devices and navigating Russian military compounds, her courage born not from a lack of fear, but from a love so profound it made fear irrelevant. Perhaps the most profound layer of Joyce Byers' evolving identity is how she integrated these two seemingly separate worlds. She never stopped being Joyce from Melvalds. She never put on a uniform or became a stoic, unfeeling soldier. Her power always stemmed from her profound humanity, her empathy, her intuition, her fierce, messy, overwhelming love. This is what made her the perfect counter to the cold, mechanistic evil of the upside down and the cynical bureaucracy of government agencies like Hawkins' lab. The Mind Flayer operated as a hive mind, a singular will seeking to consume and homogenize. Joyce was the opposite, a deeply individual, emotionally intelligent force fighting to preserve individuality and connection. Her journey is the ultimate testament to the idea that the so-called ordinary person, with all their flaws and fears, holds within them an extraordinary capacity for heroism. She did not gain superpowers or special training, she weaponized the very traits that once made her seem fragile. Her nervous energy became hyper-vigilance. Her stubbornness became unbreakable resolve. Her maternal love became a strategic and unstoppable force. In the end, Joyce Byers' identity is a complete, cohesive whole. She is the mum who packs lunches and the warrior who closes interdimensional gates. She is the friend who offers a couch to a scared teenager and the strategist who helps save the world. She proves that one does not erase the other. Instead, the love for her family and her home is the very fuel for her battles in realms beyond comprehension. From a flickering string of Christmas lights to the frozen wasteland of Kamchatka, Joyce's story tells us that the most powerful force in any universe, be it ours or one turned upside down, is the human heart refusing to give up, constantly evolving, and forever fighting for what it holds dear. She is, and always will be, the heart of the resistance, a woman who discovered that the greatest adventure and the hardest war are both fought from a place of unconditional love.